We didn't expect this technical issue on our side. If any of you guys have questions, you can send it through on the chat. I've got Timothy managing that. He will answer as many questions as possible. Otherwise, after the training seminar, we will share our contact information in the meeting chat. You guys can send us a private message. Please note, if you do try and call us, there's a possibility that we won't answer. We do receive high volumes of calls coming through every day. But if you send us a message, we will get back to you as soon as possible. So today's training, we're going to focus on the basic side of the SMA 5000. I'm going to cover a few of the common issues that we are currently facing right now. And then if there's any questions, oh my goodness. 1 second. All right. If there's any questions that we cannot answer, my team and myself will correspond with the representatives of Luxpower in China. We also have a local guy over here called Owen. They will try and help us diagnose the situation, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. All right. So to begin, I'm just going to go through a few basic things. This is just a brief Luxpower training document that I made last year sometime. Part 1, with regards to the Wi-Fi dongle, I'm going to cover that just now. I just want to go over the recommendations that we have drafted up, and then I'll go through some practical training situations which will include the Wi-Fi dongle. So the installation requirements that we recommend from the AC side, we recommend a 25 amp in a input breaker, a 20 to 25 amp output breaker as well. The earth leakage, with regards to the earth leakage, which will also include the neutral and earth bonding, I'm just going to show you guys a quick diagram. Just give you 1 moment. Where is it now? Come on, man. Just 1 second, guys. There you go. Timothy, can you see it? I'm on over there. Can you see what I'm showing? All right. Okay, guys. If you can see this diagram over here, all right. This is the neutral to earth bonding diagram that the engineers of Luxpower drafted up last year sometime. This is for our eco hybrid, the SMA 5000. We have received a lot of complaints that after the clients use this method, the unit still trips, and it's not performing on a very steady base, and the changeover times and things like that, it's still not being fixed. This is because this diagram over here is designed for the SMA 5000, which is an off-grid inverter. It's technically not meant to be used on grid with AC power flowing through. However, in some in some areas within South Africa, you can use it as a hybrid inverter, but this diagram still will not work. We have asked them just to create one that will work as a hybrid inverter. I believe Luxpower is still working on that. As soon as we get it, we will share it with everyone on the Luxpower groups and on the Facebook groups as well. This diagram over here, I've created a resource pack that I'm going to share with everyone at the end of the training seminar, and then you guys can use it as reference when you guys are on site. All right, a SPD of 275 volts is recommended from the AC side. Lights grid for the inverter, that's basically to install lights that can indicate to the end user that the grid is on and it is going through the Luxpower inverter. This is obviously if you're using it as a hybrid setup. A changeover switch is recommended for the bypass. This is extremely important if you guys want to do the firmware changes on the Luxpower inverter, as the client's household load needs to be running through Eskom and not through the inverter. During the firmware updates, the inverter will restart 3 times. And during this process, we don't want any damages to go through to your clients' appliances within the house. We have experienced situations where a few stereos and gaming systems are damaged during the firmware updates of the inverter. So this is very important, but this is basic stuff that everyone should know how to do. From the DC side, strings must have fuses, both positive and negative side. The inverter, it's 100 volts, 380 volts, and 13 amp per MPPT. That's from the panel side. This actually changed. I just need to change this. The minimum voltage from your panels, it has to be a minimum of 120 volts. Otherwise, the inverter will not read any power coming from the panels. And then the max voltage of 480 volts. Recommended 385, as stated in the diagram over here. A SPD of 500 volts is also recommended on the DC side. An isolator switch must be installed. And by the battery disconnect box, you need 125 amp fuses with a 35 millimeter cable. That is the recommended from the installation side that we have drafted up over here. These recommendations have been tested on the field. We have no issues with this. The main problem comes from understanding the settings, which I'll cover later on, and I'll see if I can try and diagnose why your units are tripping, etc. All right, going down the diagram over here, there's basic settings over here with regards to the working modes on the LCD screen, which we're going to cover later on. I'm also going to share this document with you guys, and it's really nice because these are the working modes that we have tested over here, and the settings that you need to follow in order just to get it to work. We will also cover that later on, and if you guys want to give us a call for a one-on-one session, we can do that. I'd like to just quickly go over the communication side for the batteries. We get a lot of queries with regard to this. The diagram that I'm showing you over here, this was the pin layout for the old versions of the Luxpower inverters. The inverters that have red dips underneath there by the comm section. I know now with your batteries like Dynas batteries, I know there's a cable inside there that says Luxpower, but please just note that that cable in there, it's this cable diagram that I'm showing you, and it won't necessarily work on the new models of Luxpower. So you just need to take that into account when you guys are trying to get the comms to work. If you have the tool that lets you test the comms cables, that would be that would definitely be best and recommended. You can also just quickly check and see if Dynas have updated that communication cable for the Luxpower. Otherwise, I believe it's the grow-up cable in the Dynas box that is a straight RJ45. All right. The resource pack that I'm going to share with you, it's going to be the two updated documents to show you the comms that will cover pretty much all the batteries that work with the Luxpower, your pylons, your Dynas, your shutters, your Revolve batteries, your Hubbles, etc., etc. It will also show you the diagram that you need to use. For Revolve, I believe it doesn't use a straight RJ45 cable. That one is still that cable over there. You still need to crimp it and get it set up specifically for the battery. And then before I move on, just a quick thing to add onto this is that there are a lot of situations that we deal with our Luxpower inverters where the clients call us, and it's quite sad that the product gets a lot of blame. The clients say that our product is not working very well, or it's the battery, and that the comms is not working, etc. It's very important to practice in-depth troubleshooting. In most cases, it could just be the firmware on the battery that needs to be changed, or there might just be a faulty component on the battery, which we can help diagnose. Nowadays with solar, anything is possible. So yeah, just please keep that in mind. Our technical teams here at Luxpower have dealt with quite a few situations, so you can just pop on a call with them. We can try and diagnose to see if there's maybe a problem with your battery, or if it is actually the Luxpower inverter. The batteries that we are quite comfortable with, which are the batteries that we work with over here by our technical center, those will be your common, like your Pylon, Dynas, Shotto, CFE, and a few new demo batteries that we're bringing in. I believe they were mentioned in our previous training seminar for the LXP series. But all of that information will be made available to you guys after the training seminar. Going down to the parallel settings. So the SMA 5000 it can have up to 10 inverters in parallel, but recommended 8 inverters. The diagram that you guys are going to follow is right over here. So how this works, just to explain it to you, if let's say you got 4 Luxpower inverters in parallel, the first inverter and the last inverter, the dips must be on. As you can see, this is for the old model, but for the new model that have blue dips, it's exactly the same. So the first and last one must be on, your inverters in the middle, the dips will be down. And how you do the communication cable, it's a straight RJ45 cable from the bottom left side of the first inverter connecting to the bottom right hand side of the last inverter. And then you will then just daisy chain the insides of the other inverters together as indicated in the diagram over here. This will also be a straight RJ45 cable. All right. For the firmware of the Luxpower inverters, they need to be exactly the same. The Luxpower inverters that you purchase as brand new, they have the old firmware, so it is recommended to please update the firmware. If you guys have a project that is on a farm or very far from a service tower, please make sure that you contact the end user and you inform them that it might be best that you guys just pre-program the setup before you take it through. So you guys set it up at your premises. You do the firmware updates over there, make sure that the parallel connection is working. You've numbered which Luxpower inverter you want to program as master, etc., and then you just take it through and you plug and play. That way, you guys won't necessarily have to worry about getting the dongle to work down there. Obviously, if the client doesn't have any network over there, you can then try and use the local connect method that doesn't need an internet access point. So yeah, all right. Let me just quickly have a look over here. Straight Object 45.
Can we ask questions for the
Yes, you can. You can. Do you have a question? Yeah.
If you have only 2 inverters, do you still need 2 cables or just one from the furthest left to the furthest right will be fine?
Okay.
Both on cable.
Sure. So just to repeat your question in case a few other members didn't hear it. The question was, if you have 2 Luxpower inverters in parallel, how will the setup be, and do you still need to use communication cables? So the answer is yes, you still need to use RJ45 cables. So in the diagram over here, you will see, so it's pretty much the same. So if you remove the 2 middle ones over here out, the bottom left connects to the bottom right over here, and then you connect the insides also with a straight RJ45 cable. But both your dips will be on for both of them. Okay.
But you need 2 cables. 2
Correct. Yes. Yes. But the most important thing is the firmware. That is the most important thing. So I will show you guys how to do the firmware updates on the monitor account. Just please note you can't do this on your phone unless you go into your internet browser and then you log into the server through that. Through the mobile app, it's not possible to do the firmware updates. So the requirements for the firmware updates, it's very simple. Number 1, you need to use the changeover switch to change the household load over to ESCOM. Number 2, you need both AC and DC power flowing through the Luxpower inverter, making sure that all the hardware components inside the inverter are on. And your EPS switch, which is located on the bottom left side of the inverter, must be switched on. During the firmware updates, there's going to be 3 firmwares that's going to go through. You can track the status of it on the bottom right-hand side of the inverter. It will indicate whether it's busy downloading or updating the firmware. After each firmware update has gone through, the inverter will restart. It's not tripping. It's just going to restart, and that's a necessary process. Just like if you do a firmware update on your laptop, you need to restart it so that it's implemented into the system. All right. We've noticed a common problem with the third firmware update. That's usually caused by if your AC power flowing through the inverter is not stable, your MPPT board will lose its power source and that component will not be on. So the firmware, where it goes, so the first one is directed to the main board, second one to the control board, and the third one to the MPPT. If you're running the firmware update through a fiber line, it should take less than 30 minutes. If one party is fiber line, like on our side, by our tech center, we have fiber down here. Sometimes the client that we do the firmware update does not have fiber connection. It can take between 30 to 45 minutes, so you just need to be a little bit patient. In a parallel setup, you can update all your inverters at the same time. Okay. When I jump to the monitor account, I'll cover the section a little bit more and provide a few tips and tricks that will be quite beneficial to you and also help you to understand how to speed up the process as well. During the parallel setup, yes, even if you have 3 or more, you can technically set it up as a single phase system. You can. It will work. It'll just be a bigger single phase setup. So on the parallel side, on the monitor side, you will see the section over here, which is the parallel settings. For 3-phase, you need to use 3 Luxpower inverters or 6 or 9. Or you can do it as single phase. So let's say we're starting a single phase over here. For the set system type, I will show you guys this on the monitor account. You will set it as single phase. And please, after you select it, you click on set and just wait a few seconds so that you get the notification saying set successfully. All right. Then the set composed phase, a default phase will pop up over here on a single phase. You can ignore that. You don't have to worry about that. And then in a parallel setup, we recommend you do battery shared. So you connect all the batteries in parallel, you use a bus bar, and you connect them to the inverters. So your Luxpower system in parallel is using one battery module, and it's not split as in your master inverter has one battery and the slaves are one battery each. Yes, technically it can work, but it will create a lot of complications, especially if we need to log on your system and do remote settings and monitoring, etc. And in all honesty, it is a little bit difficult to try and explain that whole process to the end users. So for the best interest of all parties, please parallel the batteries and do battery shared over here. So enable the battery sharing, right? Then within this document over here, there's a code and description area. This is, I've noticed on our Facebook groups as well. Some of you know Jean from Sharp Soda. He has a Facebook group that's been running for the past few months. I've been monitoring the queries that have been popping up over there, and also on another Facebook group created by another member. I'm not too sure who that person is, but I know that one's mainly for the end users. A lot of the time, the clients will panic, and they will most likely bother you at odd hours where, let's say, the working mode over here, there's a normal phase and it says CO. They will panic and they'll think, oh, my inverter is not working properly. They're not too sure what's happening. It's just a working mode. So with every working mode, there's a different code that appears on the bottom side of your inverter over here. So this document over here, it will be on this training document, but there's also a separate one that you can send through to your clients. So this shows you the normal working modes. If you scroll down over here, then you got your fault codes. If you guys ever experience a fault code, please contact us immediately. These situations are quite severe, and in some cases, we can solve it remotely, but 80% of the time, your inverter has to be sent back to us for technical repairs, special firmware updates, and sometimes we actually need to change and reprogram a control board for your inverter. So going back to the firmware updates, if you guys try to do the firmware updates and it keeps failing and you keep trying, then it can cause an internal communication fault. And also previously, we used to have a manual way of doing the firmware update where we would choose the firmware file, upload it to the system, and then do the firmware update. That also used to cause internal communication faults if the client selects the wrong firmware. So with the new system now, with the standard firmware update, it automatically selects everything, which is very convenient. But anyway, if you get a fault, please contact us or contact someone that is very familiar with the Luxpower inverters and see if they can provide some guidance to get it solved. All right. Scrolling down, you got your basic warnings. The most common ones will probably be 00, 03, 04, 28. I think with another one, 26, 27, and those and 25. Those are your most common ones, and those are generated by installation side, which we can help you solve. All right. And then, okay, so please ignore this diagram of here when I send it to you. I haven't had a chance to update this document, but I'm going to send you the latest compatibility list from for batteries and the Luxpower inverter. Some of you actually might have it. I did recently send it on the Luxpower technical groups, but if you don't, I will send you the resource pack and everything will be on there. All right. Okay, before I move on to the monitor account, where we do the administrative side of the settings and things like that, I'm going to pause for 5 minutes. If there's any questions, send it through. Timothy, I see these questions on the chat. Have you been answering them? Okay. All right. So see, Timothy's been answering the chats on the group. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Anyone here have questions so far? You guys good? Can I move on? Just tell me if I'm going through this too quickly. Sometimes I get excited and I rush into the information.
I think you're going too fast.
Am I going too fast?
You pulled that.
Sorry.
Just one question on the paralleling of the batteries.
Yes.
You don't have a recommendation for having the split bus bars or anything like that. I know you mentioned it, but it's not on your.
Sorry, the recommendations too.
Say you should add a bus bar to when you split the parallel the batteries.
Yes, yeah.
It's not on this one, but you
Yes.
recommend.
Yeah, so it's not on yet, but I'm sure we can create one and send it.
I'm just.
If it's-
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible to parallel from the battery itself, or do you recommend putting it separate? Paralleling in front of the splits box or something?
So because of how with a situation like this, it's easier to show you in person. So from our technical point of view, when we test the parallel systems, right, it's very difficult to use a bus bar to set it up in a parallel. So what we do is we connect the master inverter, right? And then we daisy chain the power cables going over. So from the positive terminals, positive, negative to negative.
Oh, from the inverter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously with having that bus bar, it connects your main positive and negative cable from your battery onto the bus bar and we split it over to all your inverters, which is the same concept
Yes.
of what we're doing over here. So look, I'm not too experienced in the field, so I don't know if that should be something that everyone should know. But if it's not, I can create a,
Because the thing is with the last power opening at the bottom, it's quite small. So you're gonna flip 2 or 3, or 2 actually.
Look,
cables through.
with great difficulty it works.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is recommended with having the capacity, it just neatens out everything, and yeah. So I do understand what
So
you're
you
saying.
can parallel from that you tell them, and so on it's also bad.
You can, but it's not recommended. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Timothy is busy over there. All right. I'm going to move over to the monitor accounts. Show you guys how to set them up. Okay. All right. The share screen stuff. Sorry, guys. I'm a bit of a technical noob when it comes to Zoom. Don't like it. All right. Let's see. Share screen. All right, Timothy, we good there? Can you see my page? Can I see? It tells me that over there. All right. Okay, so if you guys can just quickly let me know on the chat if you guys are distributors or installers or end users, etc. Just spam the chat box. Let me just have a look so I can tailor this. And you guys are here. Most of you are installers. Any distributors? All of you are installers. Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, so the monitor accounts. The big question: setting it up, customer codes, etc. That is what we need to cover now. All right. So how it's supposed to work is, from our point of view, the importers of the product, the distributors, we mainly supply distributors. Okay. So when they purchase the product from us, we create distributor accounts for them, which is under the configuration setting over here. So you guys can take note. It's the same process that you will follow for end users. Okay, so we will create a distributor level 3 account for them. All right. So from there, we send them documents and show them how to create installer accounts, where they will create a unique installer code for you, a customer code, right, which you will use to link up your client system underneath your profile and which will also link your profile underneath the distributor's account. So everything is connected through the customer base. It's very important that that's done correctly. If, let's say, there's a situation where the distributor is not familiar with this process, we can assist you. So it's not the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. We can create the code for you, all right? So I'm going to talk you through the process that either the distributor or we would follow to create this for you, okay? So it's quite simple under the configuration setting, the end user area over here. I'm sure some of you have seen this over here. So this is how we complete it. So the information that we usually require from you is we need your company name, the email address, and then the main member name, or the owner of the company, or the person that's going to be monitoring this account for the company's behalf. So what we would do is for the username, we would usually use the company's name over there. And if it's very long, we'll try and summarize it and use that as the customer code, right? The customer code, if there's any spacings, any capital letters, any numbers, etc., it must be exactly the same when you use it for the customer, your client, to link it onto your section over there. Now, how can I construct this? The registration process. Okay, let me just backtrace a bit. All right. So this is pretty much the customer code section over here. I'm going to show you guys how to use the customer code in a second, but I just want to go back and start from the beginning. So when you log into your monitor account, if you guys don't have it, just let us know in the chat. Timothy will take down your details. See, we've got a few installers, a few end users over here. Okay. All right. I will explain how we upgrade your accounts as well, because some of you are quite technical and you want to monitor and play around with your own systems. Okay. So this is the basic page over here. For the monitor account, when you jump in, this is what you see. I want to see if I can quickly load one. Okay, I can't. Let me just quickly go to Africa. Just bear with me, guys. Just 1 second. Ah, lovely. There you go. Cool. This is a parallel system. All right. This is quite nice. All right. So when you log into your monitor account, this is what you see first. On the top left-hand section over here, if you click on it, you will see all the stations that you have created, all the sites that you have installed with the product serial numbers over here. So we can see this is a parallel system. You can see that there's 2 product serial numbers over here. Previously, I'm not too sure if there's a bit of a bug with the monitor account, but previously when you grouped the station, a successful grouping will show you the indication here, where you can see 6 inverters in this little box, stating that you've grouped it into a parallel system. When that happens, you should usually see the wording parallel A, which is group A, which the end user or yourself would click on that, and then it will show you the information over here. But I'm starting to notice that it's not displaying that. So in cases like that, like you guys are seeing over here, what you need to do is you just select the master inverter, all right, which will be grouped as group 1 in group A, all right, group A number 1. And that will show you the combined information. All right, just one. David, can you just switch over to further quickly? Sorry, guys, just 1 second. We have load shedding. Quite delightful. Yes, we're just gonna switch everything over to our solar system. Just 1 second, guys. That is a very inconvenient time. 10:46.
Yeah.
Yes, gone. Lovely. All right, that's my mistake. Okay, just 1 second, guys. We will resume now. Yeah, where's the remote? Aha, mastered this now. Okay, all right, we're back. Okay, so after selecting the station that you guys want to monitor, you want to look at, just follow up with the client. This will load up over here. You will see on the system information section over here, it's showing us a normal status, which is very good. That's what we want. Sometimes if there's warnings of faults, it will display it over here, which will be in red, and this button will become clickable. So you can click on that, it will take you to the history event page, which will explain what is appearing, which I'll show you guys in a second. Now, with the Luxpower inverters, I believe it's every 5 to 10 minutes. Timothy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's every 5 to 10 minutes. The system will refresh and gather the information. Yeah. So every 5 to 10 minutes, what you're seeing over here will refresh and show you the exact reading of the system. From our side, what we like to do is you can see there's a refresh button over here. In most cases, we recommend just clicking on it twice, and then it will tell you exactly what is reading from the system. All right, so this is a live feed from the system, the exact information coming through there. All right, so you can see there's about 3.7 kilowatts of power, which is coming down from solar, going through, going through to the battery, charging the battery bank, and then supplying the household load as well. We can also see on the right-hand side of here that there's no power from Eskom side. So this could mean that this inverter is entirely off-grid, or they're also experiencing load shedding, all right? So you can also use that as reference if the client is load shedding, if you've set it up as a hybrid inverter. Above the system information, we have 4 sections over here. We have the solar yielding, we've got battery discharging, feed-in energy, and consumption. You will see, let's say if we start with the solar yielding, you will see the total yielding, the total energy that has been harvested from solar, which is over here, and then the total energy harvested for the current day. If you click on it, it will display it in a chart view. From the battery side, it's exactly the same. It shows you the total discharging, total charge, through point of commissioning of the system. And then from the feed-in section, you can see there's an import area, which is, again, so this is a hybrid inverter setup that we can see here. So they do have load shedding. You can see that they did import a little bit of power from the grid as well. And then the feed-in, okay? So there's no feed-in with this inverter. And then the consumption side, it's not clickable anymore, all right? This just shows you the total usage for the day and since the inverter or inverters was commissioned. If you scroll down, you will see this little section over here with the product serial numbers. This can also help indicate which one is the master inverter, which one is the slave inverter. So through seeing this as well, we can also see that there's 2 inverters in parallel. This 3995 is the primary inverter, which is the master inverter, and then the subordinate, which is 3044, is the slave. If you scroll down, it just shows you the information that I showed you on top with the solar yielding, just in graph formats over here. And this can help you diagnose to see if there's any spikes or something abnormal. You can also cycle through it, so you can focus on one or more sections that you just want to have a look at. The same goes for the bottom of here. It's just extra graphs that you can look at. A quick note is that the Luxpower inverter has a 90-day memory saved on the control board. And sorry, the settings of the control board. There's a 90-day memory that is saved on the inverter, which is very helpful for our side. We can pick up patterns that you want us to look at just to see if your unit is performing normally or if there's any abnormal activity from the system. All right, now jumping onto the data side on the top section over here, referencing back to the status over here, if you click on this, it will take you straight to the data area over here. So when you click on the data area, there are different ways you can view the information. So if you look over here, there's 4 charts. So we have the PV side, battery side, AC side, and the EPS side. This is quite handy, and from our technical point of view, we've diagnosed a few situations where we could see if the panels, the power generated from the panels is exceeding the Luxpower limit. So you can obviously see that over here. So this is quite handy. From diagnosing the battery side, if let's say the clients say that the battery is not working properly, voltage just drops or the SOC just drops, which by the way is not normal, we would jump onto this section over here and have a look. So if let's say, it's going to be difficult to show you an example, but let's say we have a SOC of like 79 and then a few seconds later it just drops all the way down here to a low SOC. That is a very abnormal situation. You need to contact for technical support. So this is just basic stuff where you guys can just monitor the information from the solar system. You can cycle through SOC, the volts, the charge power, discharge from the PV side. You can have a look at both strengths. So obviously our Luxpower inverter is 2M is a 2-string system with dual M PPTs of 13 amps each. You can have a look at the information over here, PV1 and PV2, and then from the AC side as well. So we can see over here from around about, 2 o'clock up until just after 4, the client had load shedding. You can have a look at that over here. All right. Then scrolling down to the energy section, the energy charts, the history data, the local event. This is where you can just view more information on the system. From the engineer's point of view, and this is what we use as well to diagnose the systems that are acting abnormal, we use the history data event over here where we have the 90 memory, the 90-day memory saved over here, so you can cycle through all the pages. We can have a look at the battery SoC, the power coming from the PV, and yeah, just your general things. So to give you an example of a case that we use this for is the clients was informing us that they're a little bit worried and concerned why their battery never gets an opportunity to charge up to 100% SoC. So what we did is we had a look over here and we could see that the charge status was not it was not an uninterrupted charge state, meaning that the battery would charge, but it will also discharge at a certain point. So that can be caused by a comms failure or the settings that were programmed on the system. You can also scroll through over here. You can see the loads. And then I'm sure, well, hopefully this doesn't happen, but some of you might experience a bus voltage high warning. This is where we would diagnose it over here, the V bus over here. So what you're seeing is normal. If it drops lower than this, or if you have situations where the bus voltage drops down to 1 on one side and stays there consistently, or it happens frequently, then you need to contact us immediately, and we have to do a special firmware update for the bus to resolve that situation over here. Sometimes a firmware update can solve that, but yeah, this is just general information that you guys can look at, and you can also export the data. Now, on the monitor side, where it's to show the normal status, if there's something abnormal, you'll click on that and it will take you through to the history event over here, where you can have a look at the notice if it's a false or warning. Usually the notice represents a warning, and then if it's false, it will display it over here and it will show you the problems over here. So you can then filter it through to the station that you want to have a look at, and then you can have a look at that over there. Now, what I'm also going to include would be the fault codes and the warning codes, which was passed on to us by the engineers of Luxpower. Our technical team uses this quite often. It gives you a bit of a clear indication of what is causing the problem and what needs to be done. Like, if you have a look at, let's say that that previous fault document that I showed you guys, if it shows you a fault, let's say fault 01, which is internal communication fault 1, that will just tell you that, hey, look, please try and update your inverter, follow these steps. If it doesn't work, you need to contact us. From our side diagram that we have, it will tell you if, let's say, your control board might be faulty or there's a special firmware update that needs to be done. I'm going to share that with you guys, and I hope it will help you better understand what is happening with your client system or with your system. And but please don't try and use this to try and fix your unit yourself. If you open up the inverters, the warranty will be void, and if that inverter comes back here, unfortunately, we're going to have to charge you for the repairs and any of the work that we do on it. All right, so it's just a guide so that you know if you need to bring us the inverter or not. Okay. All right, jumping over to the configuration side, I'm going to cover the dongle over here as well. So the process of getting the system set up. Unfortunately, I can't do a practical video to show you guys how to do it. So if at a later stage you want to give me a call, or you want to call David or Timothy, we can arrange time where I can show you guys through a video chat how to set it up. But I hope by me explaining it and you guys taking notes, you will better understand the process of getting this set up. So this is pretty much the administrative side. If you're going to do a lot of remote monitoring and settings and things like that, you're probably going to be looking at the configuration and the maintain side the majority of the time. All right. So I've I've noticed a new feature with the Luxpower Monitor app, the Luxpower View app, is when you register the client, it's going to ask you to please fill in this, I think it's plant name, station name, the product, the dongle serial number, and the customer code, etc. That process will automatically link the end user's account to your monitor account, your installer monitor account. It will automatically create a station or plant, which you see over here, and it will link. It'll also automatically link the dongle to that station. So that removes a lot of the manual work that we previously had to do, which was the previous way, which I would recommend you know how to do this in multiple ways. So there's that method. The other method would be you would need to create a station for the client. You create the station over here. You fill in the station name, create time. You click on that, and you click on the date that you're doing it. And then the continent, region, and country that's preset to Africa, South Africa, South Africa. Time zone, we all know it's GMT +2. And daylight saving time. Please leave it as no. So just a comment on this. There's been a few situations where clients don't understand this function very clearly, but if you turn this on, your inverter is going to be 1 hour ahead all the time. And yeah, so that causes a lot of misunderstanding. So keep this disabled, please, and then you add it. Once the station has been added, the next process would be to get the Wi-Fi dongle set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a second now. Let me play a video for you guys to show you how to connect the Wi-Fi dongle, and I'll see if there's anything else that I can add. But for now, if you guys can just bear with me, let me just get that video set, and then I will share my screen in a moment. In this video, I'm going to show you how to repair the dongles in your modem. So if you change. Right, just a second, guys. I like to just do this all the time. Okay, I think you guys can see my screen now. All right. So I'm sure most of you have seen this video. This is one of the methods that we prefer to get the dongle registered or get the dongle configured to the client's internet access point. There is another way in which you can use the mobile app. Like I said, it's very important to know how to do it to get the job done using different methods. All right, but this is our preferred one. It's about 2.5 minutes long. So I'm just going to play it. In this video, I'm going to show you how to repair the dongle to your modem. So if you've changed internet providers, changed the modem, or you want to just pair to the dongle in a different way, this is how it's done. So we plug the dongle in, and what we're waiting for is to make sure the bottom line is solid. When that's solid, that is giving out a pingable service. So we click on our Wi-Fi connections on our code. And we're looking for the dongle numbers. The dongle number already is here, and this is what you'll find in your Wi-Fi settings. So click on that, and enter that as your Wi-Fi. So now we've connected to the dongle. We open up an internet browser, and the address bar at the top there, all the digits, 10.10.10.1. Let's go. Username and password is admin. Yes. And that's you will find it really. So you want to do it, if it is in Chinese or any language, just go to the top and press English. Once you've done that, expand the page, and we're going down to the fourth option, which is station mode settings. Click on that. And at the very top, you can see station parameter settings SSID. So this is where we're going to look for your mode. So you hit the word scan. As it's talked of, so I select that. Press OK. And at the bottom here, it says password underneath the song here. You put that password in. And then we hit save. So that's you can also reboot the module, press yes.
we'll get this message that says wait 3 seconds. We want them to do that, and then all we're doing is going back to the dongle, and we're just waiting for all 3 lights to go solid.
Kind of abuse of solar. You know what the Stockholm syndrome is? That we yeah.
So you can see all 3 lights have gone solid. Because that took about 30 seconds, just bear in mind, depending on your Wi-Fi signal strength, this can take anything from 10 seconds up to 5 minutes, depending on the Wi-Fi quality.
Okay, all right, so that's the process of getting the dongle set up, but what they did not mention in there is that, let me just quickly share my other screen, just 1 second. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So just to explain the 3 solid lights, that can happen if 2 things are done, or 1 of 2 things are done. If you've created a station and you've added the dongle to the station, now the dongle doesn't need to be connected to the internet for you to do that, right? So if you do that before you configure the dongle with the client's internet access point, preferably the strongest access point, all 3 lights will come on, right? And they will be solid. Okay. If you do the Wi-Fi configuration before you add it to the station, as you've now seen, the 3 lights will come on and they will be solid. Okay. So it's just very important to note that down. So that you can just double check your work to see if you've done everything correctly. Okay. Now, if you're using the old method of adding the dongle to the station over here, what you do is you can either, let's say it's the station over here. Let's say this is the station that you created and you now need to add the dongle to it. You click on the right-hand side of the action tab. There's a station management area over here where you can add the dongle. All right, so you click on add dongle, and then you just type in the dongle serial number. Now, with the new method of doing this, which is the registration process, it's going to ask you for the PIN of that dongle. So please make sure you have that with you and you include it over there. But with this method, you don't need that. So sometimes from our side, if the client needs assistance with the dongle and we don't have the PIN and we can't do the registration process, this is our preferred method from the technical point of view, just to get it done. All right. So for to be a little bit more flexible using the remote side, I would recommend you guys practice this method more than the other one, all right? The registration process. Okay. The other way to get the dongle added is you go to the section over here, the dongles tab, click on add dongle, and then this is where it's also going to ask you for the PIN. So you just put the dongle information over here and then select the station that you've created, all right? But as previously mentioned, you don't necessarily need the dongle PIN as long as you know how to do it the other way, all right? The old-fashioned way. Okay. And then we can skip devices for now. We'll go down to the user area over here. Okay, so you as the installer, you can create the end user account over here and you can follow the registration process. All right. So what I'm trying to say is you can register the client using the Luxpower View app, or you can do it on the monitor account. Okay. So just with the monitor account, all the steps have been separated, whereas the registration process, everything gets automatically linked together. You just need to fill in the information and press register. Just a quick note, if you're going to do the registration process, and let's say the client's network is not very good, you fill in everything correctly, and you click on register. Sometimes you need to wait a few minutes, a few seconds, depending on the network speed. If you press the registration button again and again and again before the message pops up, what's gonna pop up is it's gonna say, what's the wording? Dongle has already been registered, or the dongle already exists, something like that, right? That is because the first time you pressed it, it went through already. Okay, so when you press it again, it will display the last message, not all of them coming through the same time, all right? So if that happens, what you can do is you can just go back and try and log into the client's account to see if everything went through. In most cases, it does go through because you actually did do it successfully. It's just sometimes you get a little bit you get a little bit impatient and you press the registration button multiple times, okay? If let's say you get that message, dongle has been registered already or dongle already exists, And you need to, as clients ask, remove the dongle, delete the dongle, delink the dongle. What you can do is you just go to the dongle section of here, you search the dongle, it should be linked to your account and it will appear. And what you do is you click on the management section over here and remove dongle. It's easy as that, right?
It is where the most weakness comes in.
Yes, it's that, right? It's this process over here. And look, from Luxpower's side, we have created a lot of documents showing you guys how to do this, but not everyone likes to read. I do understand that. I used to be one of them, but I used to be one of them, yeah. But I have forced myself to change my ways. Once it's removed, you will see the station name. I think it's the station name, yeah. It should say SSID with like Chinese writing. I don't know what it stands for. Sorry. But yeah, okay, so that's the delete process, all right? If it's not displaying over here, then of course you need to send it through to us. I'll log into my global account and I will locate it and remove it for you guys. Okay. All right. Okay, so what else can I quickly add on here? Let me just quickly cover the customer code section again. Yeah, okay. So let's just cover the customer code section just one more time. Let's use this installer assistance account as an example. If you see on the right over here, you can see a chain of the customer code. So what this means is that our this monitor account that I'm using right now, which uses the CNBM 01, that's the customer code that we use. So if we generate an account for you and you log into your account, you will see CNBM 01 and then the STW, which is our other client's one. Okay, so this just shows you the link and who to follow. So if your client has problems, you can contact the supplier using what it states over here. For reference, STW stands for Solotech Warehouse. Okay, and then yeah, guys, I think the customer code thing is clear now. Is it? Any questions? You guys good? Okay. If any of you guys have any questions with the customer code, can you just pop it to me on the chat? How can the Telkom Wi-Fi connectivity be correct? Cannot communicate with 79%. Yes. So I was actually the one that found that problem. We detected that with Telkom, when clients have the Telkom service provider, the communication between Telkom and the server, it's not very stable. And in most cases, you cannot access your system, or it's just really, really slow. So what we've done is, instead of you getting a new service provider, what we've done is we've created the Africa server, which you guys will see over here. By the way, sorry, something that I did forget. With the new registration process on the app, you will choose the cluster when you register the client, okay? So its default will say Europe, but please just set it to Africa, or if you're not comfortable with Africa, you can still use the Asia cluster. It still does work, there's nothing wrong with it. But please just use the Africa one. And then just a quick note on the problem with the servers. I know there's been a lot of complaints saying the clients can't access the servers, or it's extremely slow, or the end users can't access the system using the app. There was a bit of an issue from Luxpower's side. We didn't expect the product to sell this quickly, and they need to upgrade and improve the server. Obviously, the server engineers from Luxpower, they won't tell us a lot of information, but they've told us that they are currently working on it. They're busy finding ways to make it more stable. So we have heard everyone's concerns, and we are taking actions to get it solved. Okay, the rest of the questions in the group, I'll leave that to Timothy. Timothy will answer that. I think he shared my number in the group as well, so you guys can message me. All right, guys. So moving on now, we're going to go to the overview tab of the Luxpower monitor account. So in most cases, you won't need to use this. All right. Where I would use this is for the parallel setups, the grouping, as I mentioned. So how the grouping works, you'll go into the overview section, you'll see your tab overview, click on the tab overview. search the client station. Do any of you guys have a parallel system? You do. Do you want to give me the station name?
It is, switch degree. You want my installer name?
No, just the.
The local daily.
Yeah. So it's switch what? What's?
Switch 01 is my trusted code.
Yeah, but what is the station name of the parallel setup?
The local daily.
The local.
Space daily.
The
Local.
yeah.
Space beyond daily.
Daily.
Daily. DELI.
All right. Let's have a look at this one.
No, not sorry. Daily like DALI.
DALI. Like that.
DELI.
Daily. Got you.
Yes.
Right. Apologies. This one over here. All right.
But I'm not Asia plus that's you.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's just have a look again. The local daily. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me just go back to the station. Just need to confirm that was the right one. Hey, let's have a look. All right, so you search the station, you see a normal status appearing, and then you click on it. So good job, guys. You did this really good. Okay, so what you're seeing over here is a successful grouping. So if it's not grouped, under the parallel tab over here, if you guys can just have a look at my cursor, this section will be blank. It won't say anything, but the parallel action button will still be visible. Now, how you group it is you can see it says A1, A2, A3. This means that this has been grouped under group A, okay? So you will click on the parallel section over here, and for the master inverter, you would set it as parallel index 1, and then for the slaves 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., just don't go over 10, please. That won't be good. And then after that, you will see the parallel information over here. And then if you go back to the monitor account, just select the master inverter serial number, and then you will see the combined information. Okay. Yes. So you need an installer account or a distributor account. It'll work. So from the end user's account, you won't be able to do that.
Yeah, so I'll put mine set up. It's parallel, but I can't actually make it.
Okay. All right. So I think after the training seminar, you can just give me information, and then I'll have a look at your account. Perhaps I just need to upgrade your system, and then we will get that sorted out. All right. Yes, I forgot to cover one thing. For the end users that want installer accounts, you can message me, and then what I'll do is I'll generate an installer account view. I won't delete your current one. I'll generate an installer account, and then I'll just link your current account underneath that, and you'll gain remote access where you can do these kind of things. Okay. So yeah, so that process, unfortunately, the installers and the distributors do not have access to that. So only I can do that from my global accounts, where I can transfer accounts under new people's stations and things like that. All right. Okay. The maintain section, the fun section, the page I like to use a lot. Okay, so under the maintain section, this is where you guys are going to do like your settings, your firmware updates, and things like that. So I'm just trying to. Don't want to overwhelm everyone. What just happened? All right, let me just leave it open. Okay. So the remote settings. Before I jump to that, I just want to go back to the updates, the firmware updates that we previously discussed. So how you do the firmware updates? You log into your monitor account, click on maintain. Then if you look on the bottom left-hand side of here, you've got your remote updates. So you'll click on remote updates, and then all of your installs that are online or offline, you will see them over here. So if you've done an install and you did not connect the dongle to it, and you never set it up online, it will not pop up over here. So what I mean is this one over here, it was at one point online, so you can see it, okay? So I just want to just cover that over there. Now the firmware updates, I need to search, all right, SNA, which is over here. Okay, so this system over here, please just focus on the layout of this firmware update, all right? So on your side, in most cases, because this is the SNA 5000 training, your firmware layout will look exactly the same like this. So it'll be lowercase c, capital B, two lowercase a's, and then you'll have your dash and then your 6 digits over there. Okay. So this indicates the current firmware that your system has. How you know if your firmware needs an update, you will get familiar, just comes to that, you will become familiar with what the old firmware looks like and what the new one does. So usually, I think the old one is 12.16.17 or 12.17.16. That is the stock standard one. So when you purchase your Luxpower for the first time, that's what it should say. But we need to do the firmware update. So if you click on the question mark over here, next to the firmware update, it will provide the recommended firmware update that need to take place and what has been changed and the bugs that were fixed, etc. Okay, so we can clearly see over here that this inverter needs to be updated. But from what we're seeing over here, it's just this inverter needs to, so there's two firmware files that have to be updated. So the file is indicated over here, and the bugs or the problems that were fixed, it's indicated over here in a brief description, and then the next firmware update over here. All right, so this tells you which firmware needs to go through. Okay. Then how you do the firmware update, I've explained it previously, but you can see over here, we used to have to do the update, just click the update button over here, but the process was quite long, where we had to manually update the file over here, upload it, and then click on update, and that process wastes a lot of time. So what we usually do is we click on the standard update. It'll automatically identify what model Luxpower inverter you're using, and it will select the files as indicated over here by the check update section. Okay. The moment you begin it, I just want to quickly select a. All right, let's just use this one because it's offline. Okay. If you click on, yeah.
If you want, you can go onto my house. It's okay, my power and fail.
Yeah.
It will be fine. If you want to do the update.
And this one is a
Sure. Do you have the inverter serial number? Or the station name?
Yes. Hold on, I'll find it.
Okay, guys, just one moment. I'm going to give you a live demonstration. Oh man, I'm dehydrating you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jan. I'm supposed to be getting you water. You're my boss. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much.
Hi, Jonathan.
Yes, how's it, man? How can I help you?
I'm going to be starting it. Jonathan, just once you are waiting to do a live demonstration, I just want to ask if I don't do any software upgrade on my inverters, so I just basically use the software which the inverter gave me. Is there anything which can happen to the inverters in the future?
Like, give me
So-
smaller code.
That's a bit of a tricky question to answer, but the thing is with the current firmware update with a brand new inverter, right? Depending on how you set up the system, there's a possibility you're going to run into a few problems that we have detected. Okay? And the only way to solve it is with a firmware. So you can try and run it on its default firmware, which is what I'm okay, yeah. So this firmware that is showing over here, the 12.16.13, right? That is usually the default firmware. The what's the wording? It's stock firmware, if I can put it like that. In most cases, there will be problems, but in some cases, it will be okay. So you can run it and see if it's fine. If you guys are not experiencing any problems, then you can leave it like that. But our recommendation is to please update it for the optimal performance of your inverter, right? And obviously, with the new firmware updates, we have adjusted certain settings and reduced the limitations that the current firmware will give you, which I will cover under the maintain section. But to answer your question, test it out. If it's not giving you any problems, then you can leave it. But I would recommend that you update the inverter.
Yeah, I think for my side, I will leave it with stock. I've run quite a few investors with stock and then any issue. So yeah, I
Fantastic.
just have 20 to now updating, introduce something which is unknown to my side. But I think
All
for now,
right.
I will take it as that. Yeah.
Look, if you knew what I knew with regards to all of the issues that we came across, you wouldn't hesitate to update the inverter. But you can keep it like that. If there's any problems, start with the firmware updates.
All right, thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, cool. All right. Um, let's do the firmware update. Let's have okay, so you have the latest one. So
Oh,
you do. All right.
not that.
All right. Okay, that was. It's fine. Let me just select one that's offline. All right, let's use this one over here. So we can see with this one over here, it says 00777C, so it's missing one firmware update for the MPPT. So we're going to do the standard update. All right, so this is what you'll get when you click on the standard update, guys. You will see over here the rate of progress. So this section over here, it's a little bit frustrating from my point of view, especially when you want to do remote monitoring and firmware updates and things like that. Because once it reaches the 100% rate of progress, it will not refresh to show you the next rate of progress for the other firmware file, which is very, very frustrating. So my suggestion would be when it reaches 100%, you can click on cancel and then click on standard update again. Then it will show you the current rate of progress. Okay, so there's that method. Or what you can do is when it reaches a rate of progress of 100%, you're going to click on update record. You will then filter the system, so search the client station with that exact inverter serial number, right? So if I can try and do one, let's have a look. So I would filter it to this. Let's see. Okay, I haven't done a firmware on that. Yeah, let's say this one over here, right? So we can see over here the attempts and the failures and the ones that actually went through. So this is why we need to filter it. So you can then see if when it reaches the rate of progress of 100%, let's say you're doing it for the first time, you should see one success status over here. Meaning the first one went through, meaning it downloaded and it updated and your inverter restarted and it's been installed. So then the next one should begin. All right. When the second one is beginning, you will also see another status like this, similar to this, but this won't change. This rate of progress is not increased from my experience. Okay. So this is where you can just check if all three go through. Otherwise, if you're on site and you're doing it, you can also monitor the bottom right-hand side of the inverter. There will be a rate of progress over there, which is very, very accurate. Yeah, okay. So that's that. That's for the firmware update.
So I have one question.
Yes.
That local daily that was viewed earlier,
Yes.
I'm trying to do firmware updates on that. So out of the 3 inverters, 2 will do update, but 1 keeps saying, or it just doesn't move from 0.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at it. Let's quickly have a look at it. The local daily. I'm assuming it's
Just one of the 3 is always doing. The other 2 will do it.
no. So over here, it's showing me that with the local daily, only these 2 inverters try to update. The third one did not try and update at all.
Yes.
That's what it's telling me. So just in case this monitor account doesn't do it, let me just have a look over here. Let's have a look quickly. Local daily. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so okay, that's not what I wanted. Just one second, guys. Local daily. Okay, so this is showing us that the firmware on these inverters that you currently have is still the old firmwares, and it still needs the firmware updates. So it could be, look, the network is a little bit unstable, but I can't remember, was there load running through this?
When I was doing it, yes, there was. I didn't go and do the changeovers.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then I think after the training seminar, I think let's just double check to see that it meets the update requirements, and then I can update it for you before you guys leave. Okay,
That would be great,
cool.
because
All
I
right.
have a bit of an issue with this.
No problem. I will solve your problem. I'll fix it. No problem. Okay.
So again, someone can, there's something on, so just more.
Do you know what card is?
I think for the evaluations.
Fort Everest. Okay, guys, if you parked along the fence down there, can you quickly just go move your car quickly? Thanks. All right. Unfortunately, I do have to continue as we have clients online. Okay, so let's go to the remote sets section over here. All right. Okay. Please note that the layout will change depending on the model that you use. So on our LXP range, we have a lot more settings. It's a little bit more complicated. But what you're seeing over here is the layout for the Eco Hybrid, the SMA 5000. So that's measuring yours. Okay. Okay. So do you mind if I log into one of yours quickly?
No.
All right. So what you're going to do is just search the station, search the product serial number, and make sure you click on read. And depending on the network, this could take some time. But just be a little bit patient as you read through, and during the process, you will see this changing. All right. Now I'm going to cover a few things over here. Okay. So if this is a parallel setup, you would use the master inverter. You just change the settings on the master inverter, and then it will feed the information through to the slaves. Okay, so what you have over here by your common settings, you got your general time, which if you hover over the question mark, it just explains it over there. And then the same for the battery. So this is where you can program your battery over here as well. And then just general settings. So I'm just going to cover this quickly. So if you go under battery type, you can from the installer monitor accounts, you can select no battery, lead acid, or lithium. After you've selected it, you will click on set battery, and if you're doing it on the inverter, you would go to setting 3 and you would program it over there. But please note, every time you change the battery type, it will reset all the settings to default. Okay, so you have to reprogram everything again, and it is a little bit frustrating, especially if you're doing it on the Luxpower LCD screen. Under lithium type, you will see most of the brands that are compatible. Some situations like let's say Shotters, your Volta batteries, and that. So your Shotters and CFE batteries, they will work under Lux protocol. So under protocol 6, which is for Lux. In the compatibility list, the latest one that I'm going to send you guys, it will indicate the which battery is compatible, what protocol to use, and what its description is over here. For instance, if you guys are going to use the new Volta batteries, it's Power on Tech over here. Okay, which Volta is very nice. I'm not trying to sell you guys the product, but it's nice. It is very nice. Okay. So remember, when you change these, click on set battery, and every time you change the battery type, it's going to reset all the settings. Okay. The PV input mode, which on the inverter is setting 2, I think. PV input mode. In most cases, you probably can have it set to number 4, which is 2 MPPTs connected to different strings, so string 1 and 2. Okay, that's in most cases. I'll see how you guys have set it, how you set it up over here, which is fine. Just make sure that your connectivity on the panel side is correct, and then you will set that over there. If you set it to a lead acid battery, you just need to make sure that you set the correct, you choose the correct battery capacity over here. And obviously keep in mind, if you're going to do it like that in a parallel setup, you need to adjust this appropriately. Okay. All right. Battery eco enabled.
Sorry, I just have one question when you were talking about the capacity of the battery. Even sometimes I set it on lithium, and whatever the case may be, let's say for example diamonds, it will not give an accurate amp-hour reading.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
that's fine.
Thank you for that reminder. Okay, so guys, if you have a lithium battery and you program it as a lithium, in some cases you're using a 1C battery, it will show you the reading as 50 amp hours. And in some situations, very unique situations, it reads as what, 999, which is pretty scary. But just please note that's just an issue on the battery's BMS side. Okay, it's just a communication failure. So if let's say you're using a Dyna's battery, which is a 1C battery, and it's reading as 50 amp hours, it's still working as a 1C. Okay, it's just a communication. How we fix that is we just do a simple firmware update on the BMS. It solves it. It's also the same, I think Shata does the same thing. Shata also sometimes does that and also gives you the 999, which is a little bit scary. Okay, so that must be solved by firmware. So you
put it on the battery or firmware on the inverter.
The battery.
Battery.
Yeah, so Luxpower is busy. They're currently busy designing new software for the Luxpower inverters to try and provide a little bit more time for the manufacturers of the battery manufacturers to improve the BMS. And from our side, from Luxpower side, I think it's necessary because with your batteries like Dynas, not everyone knows how to do the firmware update on the BMS. And from our side, there's only a few guys that know how to do it. So the software and the cable, it's extremely limited. So if in a case like that, I usually have to go to sites during my free time to solve it, or the client needs to bring the battery back to our technical center and get it solved. For Shata, the software and cable, I think it's available to most people. For CFE, you just have to get your battery online. Once the battery's online, which by the way, you can contact me, I can help you with that. Once it's online, we can then remotely update the firmware. Okay, so we just try and find ways to give the battery manufacturers more time to improve their battery. Okay. All right, the battery eco enabled. All right, guys, my recommendation, never turn it on, please. Just don't. So this can cause a delay with the changeover times if the battery eco enabled is on, right? You guys can hover over the question marks over here. You can read the description, but I will tell you now, it can cause a bit of a delay with the changeover times, okay? So just keep that disabled. Going down to the application settings, what we've discovered is, it's the problem with the changeover time from AC, right? That causes that like 5 to 10 minute delay, sometimes 15.
No, but only on the one side I have this problem. It was if there's no
Yeah.
If it's during load shedding, the inverter will shut down for 5 minutes exactly and then come back on.
Okay. So it doesn't happen immediately when load shedding happens?
No.
Okay.
Sorry again. Someone with ASUS parking this side is closing the door, so please.
Anyone with the ICT parking? Anyone? Okay, just check out the clients in front of there if there's anyone. Okay. All right, guys. Okay. So, yeah, that situation is.
Okay, but now I must say, I've never on site when this happens, so it might be when Eskom just, the client, they don't even tell you the whole story.
Yeah. Okay, so the best thing that we can do is we can share our experience and we need more information so that we can try and solve it. So I'm just going to pull up my notepad over here. Sometimes my memory is great. So what we've experienced is the default setting for the AC input range is set to APL, which has a low voltage range of 90 volts and a high voltage range of 280 volts. Now it says 20 milliseconds change over time, which like let's say if AC trips or switches back on, it will use this over here. But if it's set to APL, what will most likely happen is when Eskom trips, or when there's load shedding,
It says not one of the guys there.
it's
They cannot outside, but no parking there, so the truck comes to home.
okay, right. So the APL section over here, in most cases, this will cause quite a big delay. It can even go up to a 5-minute delay, which is what you're experiencing too. And I've also experienced complaints when Escom comes back on, the end users complain that the lights are flickering, almost as if the voltage is not stable, right? And that's because of the moment Escom becomes available, it's going to start out at 90 volts, you know, and that's not the necessary requirements for the utilities within the house. Okay, so we recommend from our experience is to just program it as a UPS where the voltage is the low voltage is a little bit higher to 170, the current is better, and the changeover it's within 20 milliseconds, so it's more stable and it can reduce that delay. All right, and you might also have experienced when Escom trips or when it just comes back on and it has to take a load of, let's say, 1 kilowatt to 3 kilowatts of power. You will get a warning 28, which is EPS overload. We have noticed that those systems are also set to APR. When we switch it to UPS and we check a few other things and we simulate load shedding, it doesn't happen again. Okay.
If you want,
So-
you can do that one.
For yours.
Yeah, you can change it. No, I mean for the daily.
All right. Okay, guys. Here's the set successfully message, which we were speaking about previously. Okay. All right. So EPS voltage sets. Yes.
There's something that realize. You see, like in houseways, like double story, right? Then how they will normally wire it, but the lights, they will have a spin switch down and up to switch on the lights so that they don't even fall on the dark or something like that. So basically, those switches they will be wired to one line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, when you do the Luxpower and you wire like that, it doesn't work. It's shut down.
Yeah.
You can see that because it's understandable technically.
Yeah.
But some regulators they do manage that.
Okay.
Even if you put everything anyway. So is there a way, is it, I was wondering maybe it's taking or is just the way. I guess it's not like that. They do that to, but it's not. I don't know if you understand. It's like two switches, sometimes not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this thing will be to work, this will be done.
Look, I think I understand what you're saying. I lack the experience and the necessary knowledge to make that method work. But if it's not what's meant to be done within the internal wiring of the house,
Yeah.
then don't do it.
Yeah. We'll actually just send one installation that we just disconnected that when the plan was able to disable that kind of setup.
Yeah.
To get it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just asking because with other brands it does work.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a bit of
I- Yes. Can I gather the information from you? And I want to try and compose a proper report and a more detailed case study, and we can share that experience on the groups. If
you on site, you
yes,
figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm there, I'm sure it'll be a different situation. Yeah. Because then I can also test myself. I can play with the inverters, and I can also open it up and see how the components are working during that experience, just to see what. Yeah.
I think you have another plan that's set up for the.
Yeah. Do you know with what product it does work with? What inverter brand
Like
that system works?
Must. Very well with not very.
I've heard Must, yeah.
Work very well. Which one is for with Kodak was the
Kodak as well.
yeah.
Okay.
I think we brought I think I know. It's actually section where it shouldn't be done so because you look for them for that way they must have first NPK because even the NPK should see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So basically what you do you just
All right.
you just put
It is starting to make a little bit of sense now because with our Luxpower, actually with all our Luxpower ranges, it's actually very similar to Dare. The systems are very sensitive.
yeah.
It is extremely sensitive and it'll pick up these problems immediately. So I'm not sure if you work with Dare, but with the Dare inverters, if you have a solar system that you have to get plugged in over there, and the internal wiring has not been done correctly, the inverter is going to pick it up immediately.
So it's basically something like this. So we put two species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
this concept a lot of people don't.
I don't know why it doesn't matter, if I'm honest with you. But I will get the answers for you. Okay.
Most cases, someone had an explanation. I'm not very well informed. So what you describing, if I understand, is a tool. Am I right?
No, two different switches or different switches. Yes, it can be one way switch doesn't matter. But all the switches are connected to the same line, connected to the same line. So meaning that is you can switch the light.
Yes.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. Actually, this is a very good situation. I'm going to be installing a Luxpower at my house very soon, and my switches are like that. Yeah. So like our living room switch is right over the door,
Yeah.
and if I walk there, I'm probably going to kick my dog's toys or trip over something. So I have a switch right there in my bedroom where I can turn it on. So let me try and simulate what you're dealing with.
Okay.
And see if maybe I can figure it out. Sorry.
Oh, no, this thing, most electricians already work in one, and it always work.
Yeah.
When you run your runners,
Yeah.
the tool that go through. So what he did is that he just identified which wire went to which point on the switch.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Because remember the runners, you can swap them on the other side, the line will still work.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
But with the inverter, so there's not interference. What he did, he just went on the switch and then he just took out the end wire. Of course, anyway, he just took out, let me just use the wire.
Yeah.
To identify which wire is which.
Yeah.
Before he did on the other side, he just stop with them. And then it stops. But on the electrical side, it works perfect. But the moment you put the inverter, there's always that interference.
Interesting. Thank you for that point. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Okay, moving on. I just want to hover over. Hopefully soon. I don't have to keep saying this, but I'm not very confident with the PV griddle function. You can hover over it. You can see what it does. You can have a quick browse of that. So what we notice is, in most cases, it's default. It will be switched on. But I believe the coding was not too lacquer with that function. And if you have a hybrid system with your obviously your panels and AC taking the load jointly and sharing the power, the moment ESCOM trips, we also do experience an EBS overload. So there's multiple causes with the EBS overload, but we have come across a few instances where sometimes, or previously it was about 70 to 80% of the time when we disable that function, it solves the problem. Okay. So in the meantime, my recommendation is to disable this. However, if you do not update your inverter, you can't disable that function. Okay, so it has to be updated to the latest firmware. So that may have been a previous bug, as I spoke about, where the coding wasn't too lacquer, the firmware wasn't nice, and it didn't allow you to use this function correctly. Okay, but we will do more tests on this. But for now, please just disable it.
Yeah, you can decide. Someone disable.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. There you go. You see, because you have the old one. Okay, so perhaps it is working now. Okay.
So I just explain that. What are you saying? What is that?
The PV grid off.
Yeah.
So let me just remind myself here, once access to off-grid mode, only when solar input is available. Okay, yes. So what it does is, if you have it in a hybrid setup, and your panels are generating enough power to take the load and everything, it will completely cut away ESCOM, completely. And cut ESCOM power, putting it in off-grid inverter mode.
Okay, now you can explain what this specific client wants.
Yeah.
He has a day, right? So he's got a 24 pound or somewhat. He wants to use every single thing except the battery. He doesn't want to use unnecessary extra. So all the extra power needs to go feedback, feedback into the grid.
Okay.
So he's constantly complaining, he's like a shovel on it. I think that's the only thing he does this line, is just checking that app all the time. Why isn't there enough power coming in? I paid for this one and we're only getting this.
You mean from the solar side?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That is probably because of this, your AC first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really doesn't want to use battery.
Yes. But look, Luxpower's default is obviously because it's an all-grid inverter, right? It will always prioritize PV. Okay. The minute you set your AC first, you will never use your battery unless Eskom is not available and your PV power cannot generate enough power to provide this load, right? But the minute you turn it on, you change the working mode a little bit where PV prioritizes charge, overtaking load.
Okay.
Okay, so that causes a bit of an issue over there. So with the AC first setting, we have 3 periods where you can prioritize it, where at certain peaks you can use more PV power over the AC, right? But how it actually works is, even though it prioritizes the charge, if your panel is generating enough power, it will go over to the load and reduce the import consumption from Eskom. Okay? If it's not doing that, then we need to play around with your AC first settings. The function is there, it can work, the system is working how you've told it to work. So if it's not using enough power from the panels, you need to just have a look at your AC first settings.
Okay.
And then just tweak it a bit over there. So perhaps
from 10 to 3.
yeah, so like let's say from like maybe midnight up until when does the sun start coming up? Like now, like around about 6, right? Yeah. So you can have AC start time. You can start it out at 23:59, right? All the way down to let's say 6 o'clock. Okay. Then it will cut off there, and then it will prioritize the PV, where the PV will prioritize the load, and then if there's any excess, it will charge the battery.
Okay. But if I use this AC first at night, okay, and let's say it's a cloudy day, what will happen? Will it use battery or?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will.
Now you see this guy, he doesn't want to use battery unless it's low.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Let me play with your system. Okay. And if I break it down, I'll repair it for you. Okay.
You can just increase the SOC of the battery to like 99%.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And then you go with the battery.
Yeah. But also, if you scroll down to your discharge settings area, the on-grid EOD SOC, do you understand what that function is?
No.
So it basically means if let's say power is set now, right? It's set to 20%. No, I want to change it. Let's say the on-grid EOD is higher than the discharge cutoff. Let's say you program it about 65%, right? That means when Eskom has to, when your battery is discharging and it reaches an SOC of 65% and Eskom is available, it will stop discharging the battery and Eskom will kick in and start charging EDI. So we can also try and utilize that.
Yes, I think
okay.
Play with that.
Yeah, so like I've never done this before, but we can bring it up to like 90% or 95%.
That was a mistake.
Mm.
And he just kept the battery charged. And he never used the battery.
Unless Eskom is off completely. Unless Eskom is off completely. Yes.
Between the solar and Eskom.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so
and he changed that thing.
Yeah.
You actually use the battery.
Okay.
So at least.
Okay. So we just need to prioritize your PV input power.
Yeah.
Okay. But also with the PV input power, let's say it's at a point now where it can produce like 3 kilowatts of power, but the household is not putting it doesn't need that much. It only shows you how much it's using. So that's something else the client needs to understand, is that that point I mentioned. If your household load or combined with how much power needs to go towards charging the battery, if it's less than what the panels are producing, the panels only show you how much it's using.
Okay, but this line is specifically, it is feedback.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, okay.
I did see that.
Tell your client you must stop watching that.
It's,
Yeah.
we still something else with the new ads that it creates that.
Well, if you want, I can remove this access. Okay, but anyway, going back to the settings over here. Okay, so
yeah, there's a question. Let's ask there.
this
On
one,
say comparing two inverters, right? Is it okay to put PV on one inverter? I have the answer, but I hope.
yes, that is very good. Very, very good question.
Okay, you can answer that.
I will answer it. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So in a parallel setup, when it comes to the panels, it's a little bit different than how you will set up batteries. You know, how you set up batteries in parallel and bus bar and connect it to all of it. The panels, you can divide it in each inverter. It's fine. So you can have, let's say, one Luxpower inverter, you have 4 panels. The master, the slave has 12 panels. The other slave has 6 panels. It's perfectly fine.
And all on one.
All in one, meaning all on one inverter.
6 times one inverter to charge.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's cool.
But you don't have to connect to the second inverter.
Yeah. Yes, that's fine. Does that answer the question? I think it does.
Actually, I had the answer, so.
Good job.
I prefer because no matter when you put the panels, that's the most important in terms of the charging current and working. I prefer if I don't have enough panels, put them in one inverter instead of heating them.
Yeah.
Because remember, you must catch up for the day when it's cloud, when you're not going to go take the charge.
Look, I mean, like, the question was, look, the question is, does it work? It works. But that's not a question. That's not a question for another day. All right? Okay. But no, it's not. Okay. So, yeah. Obviously, try and max out the master.
Yes.
And then you can put some more elsewhere. Okay.
Sorry, just on that topic again, let's say you have a 3-phase, would you then do 4 back or 5 panels?
So keep in mind the inverter has its limitations, right? One inverter, 13 amps per string or per MPPT, which is the same thing. So if you want more power from the panels, you need to then split it. So you can like max out each one and then you generate more power from solar. But if you do it through one inverter only, you'll be limited to that inverter's limit. Okay? Did I answer the question? Okay, cool. Okay. So just to go over the AC first again, guys, just to explain it is that if you activate your AC first, you're going to change the priority of PV power where it will no longer prioritize the load, it will prioritize charging the battery, maintaining its SOC, or its voltage if you have it on there. And your AC will obviously take the load first and it will provide power to the battery if necessary, right? But when your panels are generating enough power to take the load of the battery, to charge the battery, then its excess power will go towards load, which will reduce the input consumption from Eskom. And then obviously, if you want to change that around, you need to make sure that you program this in a way that at a certain period of time, AC first is disabled. Okay, where then your PV is prioritizing load over charge. Okay, so that's that, and you've got 3 working modes. 3 periods that you can work through. Jumping through to the hybrid settings. So with that Eco hybrid inverter, it's primarily an off-grid inverter with partial hybrid functions. There is no internal and external CT, meaning the moment you turn on your hybrid settings and your export to grid is disabled, there will always be a slight backfeed, always, that you cannot control. Now, if your client has a prepaid meter that's quite sensitive, I believe that's most of your new ones nowadays, it will cause the prepaid meter to trip. So you can either remove the prepaid meter, get that set up somehow. I don't know how you guys want to do that, but you can.
I'm sure your customer was
Yeah, but in your case, the backfeeding is working quite nice. So It does allow for backfeeding, all right? So you can turn on the hybrid setting, you can enable the backfeed. I know there's a client, when I phoned Yaku early on, I tried to get that station for you guys, I can show you. From point of commission, which was last year, end of March, he's backfed a few megawatts of power, which is very nice. So he is almost, well, his system is currently working completely off grid, but he's doing this just to see what the unit's limits are, okay? So yeah, it does work. So you can export to the grid, and you can also control the export power percentage. All right. Okay, the parallel settings. If you have 2 inverters, you're going to set it to single phase. You can set 3 inverters at single phase or 4 or more to single phase. But when you set this over here, you select single phase, click on set, and then you can ignore the phase R over here. If I've noticed sometimes with one unit, if there's one inverter set on parallel over here on single phase, when it needs to be set on no parallel, it can cause a bit of an interference over there, and you will get an error, a warning popping up. So just make sure that you set this accordingly based on the system that you're working with. If you're working on a 3-phase system, you will select 3-phase parallel, click on set. This is your one. Is it a 3-phase building? Single phase?
The building is 3-phase.
Yeah.
But I have 3 inverters on a single phase because of there's like the office.
Okay, I got you. Okay, no, that's cool. That works then. Okay, so you will set it to 3-phase, and then what you need to do is you need to cycle through each inverter and program the phase, right? Now, I believe there's a fault that appears where it tells you that the phase was not set correctly. I can't get the wording right. But in cases like that, what you can do is obviously number one, check that the phase within the building is fine. And then you just have to rotate phases on each inverter until it aligns correctly. Right. And then most of the time it solves it. If it does not solve it, then oh boy, then I have something to try and figure out. Okay, but this usually does help. So let me just put it back. Okay. Battery shared, as previously stated, please make sure this is enabled, parallel your batteries, and use a bus bar to then connect it to all of the inverters in the parallel connection. This is recommended. Then jumping down to the charge settings, I see in most cases the clients leave to the default at 110. Please don't do that. Your batteries are not going to like you for that. So make sure that you know the specs of the batteries. I know the battery manufacturers are very supportive, so you can contact them or you can contact us. In most cases, we can provide you with the right information. That includes your Hubbles and your Revolves, etc. That's why we have managed to help you guys with that job. What is it, 3 Luxpowers and 5 Hubbles? Okay, so when you're doing a lithium setup, make sure that you insert the correct charge current limits, including the discharge current limit over here. Okay, that's fine. And then have a look at your AC charge current over here. You need to also set this accordingly. Okay, so I'd recommend you just pop, all right, you can leave it there for now, it's fine. And then with the new,
I think you say something. Whenever you handle the units, the first units that you then want command to become the master. So I think that the slave is the master, but the first unit that came from first is the master.
Yes, you see, this is why I use my assistant. It's great. Yes, sorry guys. When it comes to the parallel setup, how you know which one is the master is the first one you turn on will be the master. And also, if you look on the Luxpower inverter, it will display as I think it's H is host. On the top left hand side, you press the up button. It cycles through the details on the top left hand side of the LCD screen, and it will show you. I think it states P1 and then H or H1. I can't remember the wording, but if it says H, that's the host, which is the master inverter.
H, and S.
Yes. And then if it stays S, that's the slave inverter. Okay. And then for your battery setup, obviously if you have more than one battery, just make sure that it's in parallel. The average is going to go up, so you need to take that into account over here. With the new firmware update, all right, we can now, even if it's set to lithium, we can now influence the lead acid settings, influence the information from the BMS. Previously, on the previous firmware, like your current one that you have now, if I change this, it's going to say set successfully, but it will not go through. It won't work. I learned that the hard way where for an entire year I thought I was making a change and actually helping people, but it had no impact at all. So when you update to the new firmware, you can then change the severe. So sometimes you might get a case where it says battery voltage high. I think it's mainly battery voltage high warning. So what we're doing now is until the battery manufacturers can improve their firmware for the BMS, we can now limit the charge voltage. Like for your shorter batteries, it's usually range between 55 to 55. But there's another complaint that happens after that. When you get to this point of the year and you change it, you will notice that when the client monitors the system, it still shows you the SoC, right? But it only goes up to what, like between 90 to 98%. That information is not accurate. All right, it won't be accurate because of what you're doing on the year. If in some situations it actually is accurate and it's saying that it is 98%, that's a problem on the BMS side. Okay, because with the shorter batteries, it's 54 volts, right? So 55, 55.5, it should bring it up to 100%. So from our side, we're busy with the new firmware that I mentioned that we're busy working on will assist with this over here. Okay. All right, so yeah, so the lead acid settings over here, you can just hover over the question marks where you can get the charge voltage, flow voltage, etc. Equalization periods, you guys can ignore that. That won't have any impact right now. Okay. If you need some information for the batteries, you can contact us. Most batteries have information, and I'll provide it to you. So that would be like with your Hubble battery, sometimes the BMS does not want to communicate with the inverter. Sometimes you need to update the BMS on the Hubble battery. I believe this support is pretty good. So what we will do is I have information, I'll help you just temporarily program it as a lead acid so the system is working, the client has power, and yeah, etc., etc. All right, AC charge. So with the AC charge, you have three options over here. According to time, according to battery voltage, specifically for lead acid only, and then according to SoC. In most cases, you're probably going to want to use according to time as it works best. So if your client that doesn't want to use battery at all, you can also program this over here, where you will leave AC start time to 0000. You just change the end time to 2359. And that, yeah,
Can I ask you just to do that because it was supposed to be like that?
Problem. I'll send you an invoice after this.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just program for you.
I'll eat my root back.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's it. So look, there's a lot of ways you can work with this. Setting up the AC first, you've got 3 time slots over here. So you can try and program it and tailor it based on what the client wants. I believe this is quite useful in some situations where the power coming from the grid is not very stable and not reliable. So you guys can schedule this, including with AC first. So if you have to select AC voltage or AC voltage, AC charge according to battery voltage or SoC, it will highlight the appropriate section of here, and then you can just program it over there. Okay. The generator side. So from the generator, our SMA 5000 is quite sensitive, as the power coming from the generator can sometimes not be very stable. I know Johan has a lot of information on this. You can also vouch for that. So what we do is for SMA, we recommend not going above 50% of what the generator, above 50% of the generator's capacity. So if let's say you guys have a 3 kilowatt Jenny or 4 kilowatt Jenny or 4.5, just go half the power and program it inside the year. So you have your generator, so it's pretty much the same, set it to SoC voltage, and then just make sure that you put the correct information in over here. All right, so 16 is the default. And then also the generator charge battery current. Take that into account too if you have more than one battery. All right. The Luxpower inverter has a function where it can send a signal through to the generator and activate it to provide power when it needs to. I don't know how to explain it yet to everyone so that they can understand it. But I know it works and I've used it, so I know how to make it work. I can't explain it yet. So when I get that information, I will provide it to you. But it does have the function similar to your day inverters where you can activate the generator and start it.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Your discharge settings over here. For lithium batteries, set it to SSC lead acid voltage. So you will set it to the SSC over here, and then you'll program it. Now with this over here, on the manuals, if you have a look at that, you goes discharge cutoff setting 11, and then setting 12 will be your on-grid EOD, which is over here. So what you need to do first is you need to program your on-grid EOD SoC before you can adjust the discharge cutoff. So if this is set to 35, you can't go higher than 35 per year. Okay, kind of a thing like that. And then the battery warnings SoC, that's based on what you want to set it to. If just be very cautious with this. If let's say you set it to 25% or 22%, your client's going to get notified and they might contact you because they don't understand. But you can just explain to them. So what I like to do is I just program it the same as the discharge cutoff. Okay. For the fans, if you have a situation with your LXP, sorry, SMA 5000, and the fan sounds like a jet and it's extremely loud, then in most cases, we either need to replace the fan, change the control board, change the interface board. So that is an abnormal activity. So even if it's spinning extremely fast, and I mean it's very, very loud, then even if you adjust it, yeah, it will have no effect, okay? But in most cases, like if your inverters are working, let's say you've got power coming from the panels, batteries being charged, load is coming through, then all three fans go on. So each fan represents a different function that's happening. That sound that you get, it's normal. It will sound loud, but it's not as loud as what I'm explaining over here. It's extremely loud when this happens. So to explain the fans, when you power on your inverter, obviously the first fan will pop up, which is on the left. That will come on most of the times when you connect it with the battery. The battery power flows through the main board on the left-hand side, where you have your MOSFETs over there. So that obviously keeps that section cool. When you start to increase the power consumption, the inverter's capacity that it has to deal with, the fans will increase and start to power on, okay? So usually when you go higher than 40% of the inverter's capacity, you have two fans come on, so you've got three fans working at the same time to keep it cool. So that's that. Then going back to the cluster situation, if you don't use the registration process on the app and you use the old-fashioned way, it's going to be registered under, in most cases, it will be registered under the Asia cluster. I can't remember if you switch it over to the Africa cluster and you do this if it's linked. I can't remember, but let's just say you need to now change it, okay, to Africa. What you do is you go to the section over here, you click on read, just wait a few seconds, and then you'll get the current cluster that it is currently registered on. So all you do is you change to Africa and you set. So in my experience, you need to do this for each inverter. So even in the parallel setup, if you do it to the master, this won't go over. So this you need to do for each inverter. Okay. And then.
But can I stay on Asia?
Look, if it's not giving you any problems, then sure, stay there. That's fine. Sure. And then let's go back to the John. Yes. Is there a question? Yes.
Thank you again. Maybe just before you move on, you can just go to the discharge settings.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to just inquire something. If I set the discharge control to be according to voltage,
yes,
for my system, I see the default value there for warning voltage is 44, the discharge cut off is 42, end of grid is 42. From my experience, those are quite lower than what the three suppliers recommend. is that available to change dosages to the battery supply, or people what is it through
Yeah,
those?
yeah. So when you're working with the voltages, usually on lead acid battery, right? It's always advisable from our side just to confirm this with your with the battery manufacturer, right? Because we need to help you protect the warranty on both the Luxpower inverter and the battery. So as long as we're following the guideline from the battery manufacturers, then the warranty on the battery will still be okay. So try and use what they recommend. If it is not meeting the requirements, and you think it's discharging below its DOD, its depth of discharge, then you can contact them again and just mention this to them, because in most cases, even with the Luxpower inverter, right, we are constantly trying to find ways to improve our product to better understand how we can help you, etc., etc. It might be the same situation for them too.
Max, can you give me a installer?
Okay, so contact them, get the data from the battery manufacturers, set it according to the Luxpower's limitations, right? Make sure you don't go below or over the limitations, and just see how it operates.
Fuck me, oh.
Okay. One last question, Jonathan. What I've seen is, let's say, because most lithium, your end of discharge, they will recommend around about 47 to 48 volts. And then if you set the system, let's say 48, and then suddenly you get like a big load, then your system kicks out the battery because you go below that 48. But when that load switches off, you find that your battery is now going to 49 volts. How does one get around that? Because it's not a true reflection of the battery voltage.
Are you saying that the voltage information that you're getting is not very accurate? So when the system is showing that when it reaches a voltage of 47 or 48, then it will cut off based on what you programmed it. But after it cuts off, it goes back to 49.
Yeah, so what I've experienced, let's say I've got a load of 1000 watts being pulled on the system, and then I can see the battery voltage is 48.8, right?
Yeah.
And then someone, let's say I switch on a kettle or something, and suddenly the voltage will drop to around about 47.5, of course, it's below the setting which we made, and then the system will kick out the battery and go on AC. But as soon as that kettle has finished boiling, and then the load has reduced, you will see, the voltage to pick up back to 48.8. So I'm just wondering, how does, one get around that whole, because it's not actually a true reflection of what the battery.
Yeah. Look, that's a very interesting and also a bit of a tricky question to answer. Look, like in most stages, I would want to know what kind of load are you putting through that battery? Is it maybe a lithium battery that you're using on a lead acid, or is it a gel battery?
It's a lithium used on lead acid.
Okay. We need to look at every possible situation over here, right? Even though you have it on voltage, the BMS is still going to use its safety measures, right, to keep the battery safe, right? So if there's abnormal activity from the battery, it could also cause that. It could cause it to cut off sooner than what you wanted to. And if there's a sudden drop in the voltage, right, as what you are stating over here, but that drop is not too low. But you can also just what battery is it?
It's on a pylon system, pylon tech.
On a pylon system.
Yeah, pylon tech system.
Okay. I would like to gain access to the BMS to have a look at it, to see just to have a look at the voltage readings from all 16 cells, to see if perhaps there's a bit of an issue over there where maybe one of the cells is not balancing problem. It's not balancing properly, which could also cause something like that. So there might be a bit of a problem with the battery, but we also need to look at the settings. So, okay, is this still a problem that you facing now?
No, to me, it was just an observation as to why it happened. So it's not like it's causing any problems on the system. I've sort of like found a way of getting around that. But I was just an observation I made to say, how come when I pull a bigger load, the voltage will go down? As soon as that bigger load is done, then the voltage will pick up again. So I just thought maybe the readings between the inverter and the battery is not that accurate in terms of the voltage.
Okay.
But it's not causing
Okay, all right. I'm gonna leave my number in the group chat. Let me not send it. Just send me a message, right? And I have a few power text over here. Let me set it to lead acid, and then let me see if I can simulate the same experience. Are you perhaps in Johannesburg?
Yes, I'm in Johannesburg, but I'll contact you offline, Jonathan. It's not a
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat offline. All right. Okay, guys. Going back to the Wi-Fi section, I just want to cover a few things. So, when you use that method that I displayed on the video over there, where it shows you to use the 10.10.10.1 method, sometimes the clients, if they're having, let's say they're trying to configure the dongle and it says dongle already exists, they click on factory reset on that area over there. Now, when you click on that factory reset, what it does is it, in a way, I don't want to say it wipes the dongle, but it removes the serial number from the dongle completely. So what we need to do is we need to reprogram that, okay? So there's a document. I just want to see if I can quickly show you. Yeah. The inverter not to discharge at all.
Not to current.
Sorry?
Not to current. Inverter to current is very easy.
Yeah.
But normally then in your and 10 on the
goes down to 0%. Okay. How did you program it, your settings? Did you do it on one terminal or on the inverter? Okay, all right. Can I perhaps ask, I'm going to show you after the seminar, I want to show you something on the Luxpower inverter. In most cases, the clients are not saving the settings. So when you go into the Luxpower, right, and you try and program the settings over there, right? So you hold the enter button for 2 to 3 seconds, starts beeping fast, then you're in the settings page. Select the setting you want. When you go into it, the clients will change it to what they want, but then they press the return button. And when they press the return button, that does not save it. You have to select what you want and press enter until you cycle through all the options. And then when it goes out of that setting, then it's saved. Okay, so.
Can it also be done on the laptop?
Yes, it can. It can. It's my preferred method, is to program everything using my computer. Okay. So.
Another one.
Yes, I am listening.
No, it's totally charging. It doesn't have 90%. And that's when you check the settings,
okay. Okay, that's an abnormal situation that we can discuss after the seminar. I think I need a one-on-one list with that. Okay, all right. Okay, guys, just give me a moment. There's a document I just want to show you guys. Too much stuff on here.
Ek kan maar dit alles amper plaas word. Dit is wel. Ja, 5 minute.
All right, guys. If you just have a look at the screen again, I'm just going to share a document with you. Okay. If you or the client has accidentally factory reset the dongle, we're going to send you this document over here, where we will guide you on how to reprogram the dongle serial number back onto that Wi-Fi dongle. In most cases, this does solve it. If it does not, then look, from our point of view, when we look at the coding and things like that and the IT side of things, we do believe that sometimes we actually need to update firmware on the dongle. Now that is what we are currently doing. So the local engineer, I've scheduled a meeting with him with the software engineer in China. Most of you guys know him. His name is Joey or Joe. He's one of the engineers down there. So the meeting is going to take place very soon, where they're going to brief us on how to install and use the specific software that they want us to use to test the dongles, to diagnose it, to do firmware updates if necessary, just to get it to work. All right. But in most cases, we will send you this. I'll make sure it's part of the resource pack, and I'll send it through to you guys. Okay. I believe that's basically it. Are there any other questions? I think the training seminar is done. So from my side, most of the time, you guys have the
Thank you again. In terms of the MPPTs, the maximum voltage, in terms of setup, would you advise someone to maybe utilize only 50% capacity of the MPPT in terms of voltages, or get closer to the max voltages on your string?
How can I use? I think the best way to answer this is, let's say you purchase a new car, right? Okay. Do you want to drive it on first gear the whole time? Right, where you're pushing it at its max and the engine is working like crazy the whole time. You're most likely going to burn it out and damage it. So no, I would not recommend it. So there are necessary protection components that we added onto the MPPT board that it can handle a little bit more than what it's spec'd, right? So just to give you an example, switching over to watts now, each MPPT, it's spec'd at 3,200 watts per MPPT, right? Okay. But it's recommended to go between 2.5 to 2.8 or 2.7 kilowatts of power. All right, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think it does, Jonathan. I'm just thinking in terms of maybe as a way of Luxpower can do an improvement to maybe explicitly state it on their data sheet or documentation that, although the max MPPT voltage the system can handle is 400, but for safety consideration, maybe stay below 70% of the capability of that.
Yes. So we
especially in terms
also
of voltages, because I've seen a lot of clients who max out on the voltages. They say the system can handle it, but they are failing to account for cold weather. Those days when we don't have a lot of clear sunlight, and then you get like a voltage spike, and most of the problems it destroys your MPPTs. So maybe if they can consider explicitly mentioning that in their data sheet or manual, and then people can see, they can do 500, 400, but it's safer to stay, let's say, 250 to 280 voltage.
Yes. So, like I previously stated, we didn't expect the brand to grow this quickly, but what you're asking is currently being done. We are busy making the necessary changes, and we're also updating the firmware updates and changing the internal components to cater for such situations. The Luxpower unit, the main board has changed twice, I think. Yeah, twice. The MPPT side, we made modifications at least 3 times now, just to try and cater for such things. But you should be implementing the necessary protections, the external protections, to make sure that your inverter is being protected for any kind of surges like that. And I believe from the insurance side, they do require those necessary, what's the word, implementations to be placed.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. It's just that, I'm just thinking of cases where, majority, like you mentioned, that majority of people, they don't have the time to read some of these data sheets. And then,
Yeah, which
they
is
go to the installations, and something goes wrong, it comes back to the last power brand that, it's not a good inverter, whereas people
yeah.
are just using other ones. So, it's something to consider
Yeah,
for
look,
you
look,
guys.
we are still trying to grow the Luxpower team over here to try and get clients to understand that we do have resources. We have designed these documents, and you know, we are also limited. If we create solutions, but the clients don't want to read it, and they don't want to put the time and energy into doing what's necessary for the best interest of their clients, there's nothing that we can do. But yeah, now going back to the resources that I want most of you guys to realize is that the problems that you're facing, we most likely encountered it, we most likely created the documentations, the resources to educate everyone. These training seminars that we're doing as well, I just remember now, I didn't record this one, but it's fine. We will do a recording of the training seminar. We will publish it on our YouTube page. So there are a lot of guides on the YouTube page, on our social media and things like that. If you go over to our Luxpower Tech website, by the way, just be careful. There are a few scams over there that we're trying to sort out. But if you go onto our Luxpower website, we do have easy guidelines to follow over there, and the resources are there as well. So we provided the information. Now it's, I don't want to say our part is necessarily done, but we still need to constantly remind the clients that the information is there. If you need a little bit of help understanding how to consume the information, we can assist, and that's why we have these training seminars. Okay, all right. Okay, guys. So look, that's pretty much it for the SNA 5000 training. If you guys want to go back and try and find a video with reference to what we just spoke about, on our YouTube page, we do have a recording over there where my friend Yaku did that training seminar. I believe it's listed the May or April training. You can watch that one over there. If you're interested in our LXP series, Andy just recently published a video on our YouTube account over there which covers the LXP series. What's nice about that is if you know one LXP, the rest is super easy, which is very, very good. The dongle videos are there. My contact information, I've sent it on the group. But what you guys can also do is if you go to our Luxpower Tech website, David and Timothy's contact information is there too. If you guys want to get the resource pack, you can go through over there. What I'm going to do is I'm quickly just going to publish a resource pack into the chat. You guys can download it. However, can I please request that you contact myself or my team, and we will send you an updated version of the resource pack. I'll also send it through to my buddy Jean from Sharp Server. I'll ask him if he can publish it on YouTube. On his Facebook account. I'm going to be sending it through onto the Luxpower Tech WhatsApp accounts too. So it will be accessible. But in the meantime, you guys can have a look at the one that I'm sending you now. And if there's any complications, you can't download it, just let me know when you guys manage to contact me, and I will email it to you. And as I stated previously, I would recommend it if you please rather just send me a message, as I can't always answer my phone. The situation that Jean is having, where he has hundreds of messages, tons of emails and phone calls coming through on a daily basis, I'm also in that situation. I just don't publish it, but it is a little bit difficult. to get hold of me if you phone me. But if you could just be a little bit patient, pop me a message, and I'll contact you as soon as possible. If I'm busy, I'll forward the query through to my assistants. All right, but okay. Thank you everyone for coming through. I appreciate your time, and we look forward to helping you grow and helping you learn. And yeah, thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Oh, don't, where'd you go?